Hey guys, been a little while since I recorded anything. Um, this is for Galaxy of Madness. When we first did this comic, we were thinking it was probably going to be a digital release. It was during the height of the pandemic and pencils down and stuff, so we were thinking like radical stuff, like maybe we'll just go ahead and publish this ourselves online as a web comic or Patreon or something. Um, and because of that, I realized, well, we have this freedom to create the pages to look any way we want, meaning I still prefer the basic proportions of a comic book page, but I also realized this was an opportunity to sort of play around with that space because it would be digital and more than likely would be some form of scrolling where it'd be looking up to down. So several pages throughout the issues, many of them actually, I created longer or taller than normal so that it would give this effect of movement going from up to down. Always keeping in mind that I would then have to reformat it later. So often I was at least attempting to make these pages easy to crop. Some of them are not. I've gone through the whole book so far, and I've really changed. I've done all the fixes on everything, except for one page. So I wanted to be able to record this process to show what I had to go through and the choices I was making, for better or worse, on how to reformat these pages. I am not a technical person, so I'm sure if you're a production person and you're watching this, you're probably laughing or cringing through what I'm doing. I'm sure that it doesn't always make for a better printing process, but sometimes you just have to do these things and you have to do them the best you can. So I'm pretty happy with most of the results. This is going to be a tricky page, so you can see here. This is the template for the page. I'm working in Clip Studio, so unfortunately, right now that means all these colors have gone from CMYK, the original form, to RGB, and then I'm going to have to change them back to RGB because they're going to go to print. RGB is a whole technical printing thing. Don't worry about it. If you're a colorist, you know what I'm talking about. Um, so here we go. I'm going to just dive into it. I don't have a real process or a real plan on these things. So I'm often figuring out as I go along. Sometimes I'll just flatten the whole page and it's easy to move things around and kind of paint over it. Other times I'm trying to maintain the levels of, like we've got, this is a pass that Taki did. Taki Soma did the original colors on here. So you can see here, so she has this glowing effect or shading effect that she did in multiple. Here's some hard light passes that she did over these things. The lasers for the all these lasers things are done here in something called linear light. She's much more familiar with these than I am. The ship's lasers are done also in linear. So I don't know if I'll be just reducing the whole page or if I'm going to have to try and grab bits and parts of it. The most important part is that this character, Krios, is leaping out of the ship here. And then she's leaping in between one ship all the way over to this like asteroid base way down here. So the effect would be like if you were reading this as a webcomic and you're scrolling, right? You get your first panel, your second panel, third, fourth, as she's tumbling. The ship's getting further away, and then she lands into the thing. But I can't do that. This is going to be just a single page thing. One of the things that I enjoy working in Clip Studio gives me a lot more freedom than Photoshop does, other than the RGB thing. So I can kind of grab all these layers, and usually what I'll do first is I'll just see what it looks like if I just cram everything, if I just reduced everything. There's too much space on the sides here. This would be a lot to contend with. I don't know, maybe I could just do this actually, the more I'm looking at it. All the way down to the bottom. Because Because originally I was thinking I'm going to have to cut out sort of a middle piece here. Actually, I think I will. I'm still, all right, here's what I'm going to do. All right, let's go back, keep that full size. Because like when I reduce these images, what it does is it, I always save it like a sort of a second version of the page. That way, if I really screw things up and I have to start all over, I've still got the original files that I can go to. I mean, I have them anyway, but they're all sort of a mess. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here is see what it looks like if I just cut out. Sometimes what looks like an easy fix is actually not. See how close I get the cropping down here. Alright, so that's right on the line. Okay. So I'm going to just delete that. Damn it. Why didn't I grab why didn't that delete everything? Oh, because it's locked. That's still locked. Okay. Gotta make sure all the layers are unlocked. So I'm just gonna delete that middle section here. Let's pull up. Alright, so let's now grab this here. Again, I bet designers or just generally people who know more about computers than I do are laughing at just every step I'm doing here, or gasping in horror. So now I can grab all of that and let's bring these two together. So well, obviously you can see this line. Well, now there's two lines. What is that? I don't know why there's these. Where did that come from? Well, I'll just have. I have to do a lot of touch-ups anyway, so I'm not going to sweat this little this line going across. I don't know what I did to make that happen, and I don't want to go back a bunch of steps to discover it. But you see, I'm going to have to, like right in here, you know, I'm going to have to paint over it, you know, to smooth these lines out. But let's take a look where we're at now. Here's the template. So I've got it a little bit closer. And actually, I wonder if I look at the next page of this. So this is issue 4, page 8. Okay, so let's go. So here's issue 4 art. So I want to see if I actually need this last panel where she sort of, and you know, spoilers here because you're going to see some pages. I want to see if we need to see this image of her actually. Yeah, I'm going to need this panel. I was wondering if I can cut this panel out, like if in the next panel it was clear what she was breaking into, but we're going to need to see that. So, okay. Let's do this again. I'm going to grab. Grab everything. This is actually going to be a relatively, whoops. I'm supposed to grab everything. Let's try it again. Yeah, I think this is going to actually turn out to be a fairly easy page to do. Because a lot of times what I have to do is I have to like recreate some of these layers where Taki did like the shading and multiplies and the hard lights and stuff. But I think I'm going to be okay here. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to just crop this image. So grab the outside of the template. Oops. Yeah, this is actually easy. It's too bad this is the last page I have to do. I really wanted to show you a complicated page where I had to like sometimes cut out an image or like just a figure and separate that from the colors and recreate the colors, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff I had to do. This will be relatively easy. So reverse select that image, and now I'm gonna crop. Nice. This is the proportions I'll be using. I'm going to create another layer on top of this, and then in a combination here in Photoshop, I'll be just recreating everything. Okay, so I'm going to just call this layer patches. Again, a lot of these details, they're just not going to be perfect. But I'm counting on the fact that you're going to be reading the page, and as you're reading it, you're just not... Actually, let me do this. Stop. You know, you're not going to be staring at the details. Maybe you will now because you're aware of what I'm doing. So when you actually pick up the issue, maybe you'll be like looking at it with more of a discerning eye and go, oh yeah, I can see where Mike screwed this up and that doesn't work. And I can see where this was patched and that looks wonky. But I think generally people will be reading it and they're not going to be able to discern that there was you know, these changes made. So some of these, like the main color I'm going to do in the layer under this because I have an area scaling here, which means I guess I could just shut the area scaling off. So area scaling, when I have that, that means it's going to, for 3 pixels here, it will overflow the line that it's selected in. I don't know if I'm saying that in a way that makes sense. Which is really great for flatting because that means you can get your colors underneath your line work and stuff. This won't be perfect, but again, up here especially, a lot of this is going to get cropped off. You won't even see it. Guessing these laser lights are going to be over this shape, so do that first. Oops. And I don't know why I'm tilting my whole body because I can actually just turn here. That would make it easier. I really, really love this book. When Mags first pitched it at me, I was like, oh, this is great, but I can't do this. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I want to do myself. And then I'm reading the story, and I'm reading the story. Oh, man, I start to fall in love with the characters, and shit, what happened there? My area scaling is back on, see? That's why it overflew on those, or flooded those colors out some, so let's shut that off. But I was saying, yeah, she just sent me these characters and I just was like, this is great. I gotta do it. And I'm glad I did. And now we found a really nice home with it at Mad Cave. Some of these colors aren't quite matching Taki's originals, but you know, like I said, I'm just figuring this out as I go along. I'm making a lot of guesses of what's right or wrong. Taki's totally cool. She's like, just, you know, whatever you got to do to get it all done, because she knows it's a lot of work. Neither of us have egos about these things. It's always about like, well, what's the best choice and the most practical choice? That's kind of all that matters to us. Some of these things, see, this is going to be tough to patch over this with this fading effect. So I'm thinking now, I might just cheat and get rid of the rocket behind here. Because it's going to be too hard to recreate this fading effect here unless I get rid of the whole thing and redo it, but I'm not exactly sure the steps that Taki went through to do. Where is it? This layer here. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is something super temporary. So I'm going to basically attempt to recreate this . What I love about digital, you can just kind of keep going back and forth until you get it right. Or I can stop being lazy. I can just create another layer. Outline. And I'm just going to line it up here. Make another version of that, another layer, and now I'm gonna make it small to the inside. This is really not awesome, but it's the best I can do right now. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to recreate these tones and stuff, but for now what I'm gonna do is just at least give myself the option of creating the ship here, or the ship engine, the rest of the ship, and I'll see what happens after. I wish I knew what I did here. If I was not lazy. I gotta stop saying lazy. It's everything I do is a matter of time. It's always just, oh, okay, this is easy fix. Okay. So what happened was when I moved things, I caught this space layer here. It's a matter of time. When I'm not doing something the right way, often it isn't because I'm, quote, lazy. In fact, I work a lot, so I'm not lazy. I shouldn't say that at all. It's simply because of time. How much time do I have to spend on a page? How many things do I have to get done in the day? And that doesn't even count like that doesn't even count the non-comic stuff, you know. on top of everything else, of the work, I'm a full-time caregiver with Taki. She has MS. So she does pretty much all the paperwork around the house. Make sure the bills are paid, while I make sure I do most of the housework, because physically it's just hard on her. And there are bills that I pay, and there is physical house stuff that she does herself. But generally, that's how we sort of split apart the what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibilities around the house, So, like, on top of the work, shit, it's gonna be easier to just paint over that. Okay. On top of, like, housework or work, then there's, like, well, whatever. Everybody has to do that stuff. So anyway, but what I'm saying is, like, it comes down to time. Everything comes down to time. How much time do I have to spend on a page? How much time do I have to spend doing anything? It's limited. All right, so what I'm going to do here is a bit of a fun sheet. You see, because again, there's a layer here of light. Yeah, right here. So I can kind of recreate this in where'd it go? Yeah, this. I can kind of recreate it in Photoshop, but it just wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't be right in a way that I'd feel happy with it. So I'm going to do is create sort of this faux framing device. And this is consistent throughout, Galaxy of Madness. I have these frames that they're a little Art Deco-y, even though this has a very strong Silver Age aesthetic to it. Framing devices. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'll create this fake frame. It's a real frame. I'm creating like a very specific stylized panel. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm thinking as I'm drawing, so my brain isn't great. And I'm just going to create this on one side. So this is just going to, it does two things. One, it's going to save me time from having to fix that problem that I was showing you, where I was like, I'm not sure. Shit. What happened? Oh, no, there it is. I'm not sure how I was going to fix that layer or add to it with that glowing effect. So I'm just going to cover it. One of my favorite stupid expressions is there aren't any problems, there's just solutions. So that's the solution coming up for this. Cover it up. Sort of Wally Wood used to say, when in doubt, black it out. Hold on, I have to check my messages here. When in doubt, black it out. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. All right, so now there's like a, I have to kind of move that a little bit, but you get the point. I'll touch that up. All right, so that's where we are so far, and I've got the basic page done. And I think the rest of this I'm going to end up doing, well, I'm going to touch this up slightly, but the rest of this I'll end up doing in Photoshop. So that's part 1 right now, and let's leave it here, and then we'll reconvene. For you, it'll just be a second. For me, I got to take lunch and stuff. It'll be a little longer. So I'll see you for part 2. Thanks.